Hi, my name is Paul Kautza. I'm the Director of Education for TDWI, and we're here at our Las Vegas conference. I'm fortunate enough to be joined by Tony Rathburn. Thank you, Tony. Tony is a Senior Consultant and Education Director for the modeling agency and does all of my advanced analytics training for me. So, Tony, I'm glad to have you back again.
Good to see you, Paul.
Tony, we've done quite a bit of training. You've done quite a bit of training for TDWI along advanced analytics, and we have put together a 4-day track that we did in New York last year that is a pretty deep dive into some of the different components of analytics and business analysis and bringing business people together. We're going to do that 4 days in Chicago again the week of May 11th. And I just wanted to spend a little time and have you talk us through kind of at a high level what people are can expect, what they would see in that process, because the first day, as I understand, we're going to make that as a prerequisite because it's kind of a level set course. So talk a little bit about that first day and why that's a prerequisite, and then we can maybe dive into some of the things the other 3 days.
Okay. Yeah, and as opposed to a really deep dive, I think what we're doing here is really laying the foundation for anyone who may be a member of an analytics project team in an organization. I think in a lot of cases what we run into problems with is that we have very talented people across an organization in the business units, in our IT departments, and in our quantitative groups. And they all speak different languages. The idea behind this course is to really lay that foundation that gives them a common language to use when they come together and understand what the other two components are concerned with, along with their own area. They're probably not going to learn that much in their own specific skill set. The quants are not going to dive into new algorithms. The IT people are not going to learn new things about how to structure their data in a big data environment. But what they're going to do is learn how to talk to each other. And this is why the first day is so important. The core concepts that are presented in the first day set the foundation for what we build on. We want to understand that we're supporting business decision processes, and we're doing that using math and data. We're not an advanced technology group that's trying to come up with new research and new breakthroughs in either IT or in the quantitative area. We're trying to use those tools, those skills, and the data that's available to us to enhance performance in the business units. And we do that by allocating our resources more effectively on the business side. And these are the kinds of issues that we go into on that first day and really walk through our experimental design that we suggest. We walk through a methodology, 6-phase development methodology that's used for all of the projects. We talk about incremental design, and we introduce all of these core concepts that are important in moving forward on how we actually then start to do some of the implementation. That's why Monday's so important for us.
So given that, and just talk just a minute before we dive into the other 3 days, level of people this would be applicable to. I mean, you don't have to have a big heavy stats background. Business people we're looking for business IT and people who have some more of a math background but are interested in trying to figure out where they fit and how they fit in their organization and how they bring all the pieces together. Is that correct?
Correct. And I really think this particular course is of particular importance to the business decision makers because we're talking about how to use the tools, not doing this deep dive, if you will, into the algorithms, into the math, or into the data structures. But we need a functional understanding of how to converse with the other members in the group. And this is what we're really establishing here. No, it's going to be a challenging course for anyone because we are talking about all three areas, and we're talking about their practical application. We're presenting a lot of material in a very short period of time. But it's appropriate across, as I say, for anyone who's potentially going to be a member of an analytics project team.
Terrific. So from that perspective, and that's why we've made the first day of this a prerequisite for any of the 3 days. So if we jump into day 2,
if you think about what we're doing with math, we have a basic formula. We have an outcome that a statistician might call a dependent variable. And what we're trying to do is determine that outcome and get an estimate of a future value of it. This is why our analytics are predictive. We do that based on a set of conditions, and those conditions have weights associated with them that gives you a prioritization of those conditions to make that estimate. That outcome can really only be two types. You can have a value that you're trying to estimate, or you can have a category. This is what we're doing in the next 3 days. We're looking at the types of problems. If we're looking at categories, we are doing classification problems. Tuesday is classification, and we're walking through some of the techniques. We're talking about how to design specifically those projects. We're talking about data issues and how to deal with data relative specifically to classification problems. If you're interested in doing value estimates of a future value, this is what we're covering in day 3 in forecasting. We're going into the same types of data issues. We're walking through a project design. We'll illustrate a number of different algorithms and how to develop projects. And we're doing, on both of these days, a lot of the basic work in Excel, just so that you can actually see how it works and see that there's no magic that's going on in this software. On the 4th day then, a lot of people are interested in time series, and this is what we're really covering on the 4th day, is how to do time series. We're doing some cluster analysis to find groups, and we're dealing with some advanced topics, and again, going through the same kinds of issues. So we're dealing with all of the 4 major project types once we establish that foundation on the first day.
Right.
We're doing the walkthroughs and addressing the major issues that we have to deal with in the development of these projects in a step-by-step manner.
And I know I've sat through a number of your classes, and including the 4-day series you did. You have a lot of examples from a case study standpoint that you go through, and you try to make sure people understand what are the right situations to use these different techniques, and how and why you want to apply those techniques in those specific situations.
Correct, and this is why we're breaking out the 3 days the way we do, because we're talking in general on that in the first day. Part of that is identifying the kind of problem that you want to work on. In many cases, in most cases, we suggest that people start with classification problems. That's why it's the first of the technical issues that we cover. But we're walking through and we break out classification, forecasting, and then the other types of projects on the 3rd day, so that we can walk through and address the specific issues rather than having. A lot of people look at this and they start talking about algorithms, and they don't really address where it's useful, how it's useful, and how to make it work under a particular set of circumstances. By organizing the course the way we have, we can focus on these specific examples, whether it's attrition and retention and classification, or other types of examples that we might be working with, and actually deal with the data issues in the context of the kinds of problems that our project teams will be working on.
Terrific. And I know you and I have had many discussions around data scientists and the term data scientist, and different feelings around that. And what we're really seeing in the industry is it's not a single individual. You know, it's a combination of your business person with your IT person with your quant.
Right.
And that's one of the pieces here that I think the structure of these classes give people across all those disciplines a flavor and a feel for what the other disciplines deal with and how to bring them together, and also a good feeling for where they may fit or how they may fit within that environment with their own organization.
Right. And I think you're absolutely right, and we have talked about that a number of times. I think it's almost absurd to actually try and take a young person and give them a few years of academic training and expect them to be capable of ever developing the skills that we have with our business decision makers, many of whom have been in their positions for decades, in their organizations, with our IT staffs who are extremely skilled and extremely knowledgeable about their particular data infrastructures, and with the quantitative techniques people who are, again, very talented with exceptional skill sets. I don't think you package that in one individual. I think we build data science analytic teams, and these analytic teams come together, but they do need the common language, and they need to understand how to talk to each other and get a more well-rounded approach to expand their skill sets to include the other components of the project teams.
Yeah, terrific. So I'm excited about it. I mean, I don't have a stats background. I sat through the 4 days in New York, and I learned an awful lot about how the pieces are together. So I'm excited about it, and I thank you for taking the time to do this today. If you're interested in really getting a very good, solid grounding perspective on analytics and business in the IT and how those pieces come together, join us in Chicago, May 11th through 15th, and take Tony's classes through that process, and we look forward to seeing you there. This is Paul Kautza with the Data Warehousing Institute. Thank you for listening.